Hey everybody, it's Mama Kay coming at you from her home studio again in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Thanks for tuning in again. Remember, I want to get to 100 subscribers so that I can shave this off. I'm getting sick and tired of it. So to help me along the way to getting to more subscribers, I have invited one of my coolest, most amazing friends along for the ride today. I'm not going to tell you anything about them other than here they are. So hello, special guest. Who are you?
I am Greg Crowe, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm just honored that you would want to interview me and speak to me. And it's just great to have your association today. So thanks for having me here.
So happy to have you here, Greg. So Greg, what do you do for your job?
I am a band teacher at Springfield Collegiate in Oakbank, Manitoba, where I teach band and wind ensemble and jazz band. And I also do a little bit of classroom, a course called LifeWorks for some grade 9 students.
How long have you been a band teacher for?
This is my 21st year of teaching band.
No way.
It's true. I know. Funny story. I had a student come up to me earlier this year, a grade 10 student, and she said, "Mr. Crowe, I got this photo on my phone I have to show you." I'm like, "Oh, what's this photo?" "Oh, it's a picture out of my mom's yearbook. It's a picture of you. It's a picture of you." I'm like, "Your mom went to John Taylor Collegiate? That's where I graduated high school, right?" No, my mom didn't go to John Taylor Collegiate. She went to St. Anne Collegiate. That's where I started teaching. Apparently I'm on second generations now. So yeah, 21 years. I'm old.
Oh, that is amazing. So what schools have you all worked at?
I started my career in St. Anne, Manitoba, where I was teaching five different schools, or I should say students from five different schools. They would bus the students into me, but my home base was at St. Anne Collegiate. And then I worked there for 2 years before moving to the St. Boniface School Division, where I worked at Nelson McIntyre Collegiate for 9 years. And then I transferred over to Glenlawn Collegiate and worked there for 9 years. And starting this year, I'm working at Springfield Collegiate in Oakbank.
That is fantastic. You really have sort of come full circle, right? From starting in a smaller community to big city and then back to a smaller community.
Yeah, I really have. I haven't thought about it like that, but certainly I have. Yeah, I'm really happy where I am now. It's a wonderful place to work.
Although I've got to say, for a small community, it has a really fantastic and thriving band program there out in Oakbank.
I know I'm nervous about that because there's been a long line of great teachers, and I'm just the caretaker right now. So
Oh, well, you've
I'm
got quite a team between you and the person who teaches at the middle school. Those kids sure are incredibly lucky to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, Marissa Hirsch is a wonderful human being, and she is doing so much great work out there. I'm so glad that we're building a beautiful family out there. And my principal, too, Mr. Kevin Dell, he's a former band teacher and a very good band teacher in his own right. So we got great support at the administration level as well. So it's a wonderful place to work in that community. I'm really lucky.
Means all the world when your admin gets behind you like that and they understand the power of music and what it can do for kids.
Absolutely. It really is important. And Kevin has made me feel real comfortable in my skin really quickly. So yeah, it's really nice to have that.
Fantastic. Now, 21 years is a long time to be teaching band. How did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Uh, I I know the exact moment when I said this is what I want to do, and I can't tell you where that came from. So what I can tell you is when I was 14 years old, I was in grade 9, and it crossed my mind that I think what I do in this band class is something that gives me a sense of worth, and I really like this. Maybe I should be a band teacher. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a band teacher. That's what I want to do. Leading up to that moment, I wanted to be an ophthalmologist. What?
What?
I know. I like, where does that come from? I have no idea. Like, I think maybe I had in my mind, like, well, that's a decent career. That's lucrative. Like, that'll be okay. Sure, I'll do that. But it just, music took over and said, it just pointed me in that direction. Like, this is your path now. This is the way you got to go.
Now you went to John Taylor. Was that Ross Shaver that was there?
It was Ross Shaver was teaching the concert bands, and Wilf Jones was doing the jazz bands, and Mr. Stewart was doing the choirs, Jim Stewart.
Fantastic. So you had great people all around you.
I really do. I think about my teachers, my high school teachers all the time, and how important they were to me. I just hope that I can live up to what they gave me, you know. It's because of them that I'm in these positions, right? Like I feel like they helped nurture me through high school and get me ready for university. They knew what path I wanted to be on, and they kind of helped push me in the right directions and keep me on that path. And then every time I'm on the podium, like I can feel like I'm channeling my old high school teachers. I'm using the language and the vernacular that they used, and I can hear a lot of Mr. Shaver and Mr. Jones in my teaching quite frequently.
That's fantastic. Now, obviously, your band, being a band teacher, is a full-time career. But I also know, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, what do you do outside of being a band teacher that's musical? Because you're kind of busy that way.
Not as busy as I used to be. I think once I started, um, once I started a family, that some of those things took a back seat, and it was kind of a weird paradigm shift for me. It happened pretty suddenly because I used to play in a number of bands and loved doing it, and would do almost anything for the people in those bands that I played with. And then all of a sudden, it was like, I think I would rather be at home tonight instead of playing gigs. And I like the gig. And as soon as the music hits, I feel really good about it. But every other aspect of it felt like it was taking me away from my family. And I just wanted to find a little bit more balance. And that desire to be on tour and that desire to be playing shows, you know, until 2, 3 in the morning, and then lugging equipment from the stage into the van in January, you know, became less and less appealing. You know, it was really punk rock when I was in my 20s, but then suddenly with thinking about, like, I can't sleep in tomorrow. I'm up with the family, and I don't want to be groggy and grumpy, and it just took a back seat. So these days, I'm more interested in writing music. So I'm trying to teach myself how to compose for jazz band, and that's kind of where I invest my time after the kids go to sleep. And that gives me the same kind of rush and feeling I used to get from being on stage. And you know, once that first note hit, that kind of powerful feeling, I now feel that when I'm enveloped in my writing. I got my journal right here. I was working on some stuff last night, and that's kind of what excites me now.
Fantastic. Now, I have missed a very important question. What do you play?
I was a tuba major in university, and I kind of have a weird history because I like to do a lot of different things. So in a lot of ways, I feel it's been kind of a shortcoming in my musical growth. I have more breadth than I have depth. Whereas you're a fantastic flute player and flute has been your focus. I was like, I'm going to play tuba here, but play trombone in the jazz band, but I'm going to play guitar and sing in the ska band that I play with. And then when I started teaching, it was like, well, the trombone is too awkward to demonstrate, you know, so it's easier to just pick up a trumpet. And then I found myself playing more trumpet than I was playing trombone or tuba, and my chops were confused, right? So I can play a little bit of everything, but some days I wish that I would have just like picked up a trombone, sat in a practice room, and stuck with it. So if you were to ask me now, like, what is my major instrument, it's trombone.
Excellent. I have, I never really truly fully understood the magic of trombone until I had to learn how to play it, grasp it. And then it's like, oh my God, this is such an intellectual instrument and it's so physical. And then when my own kiddo decided to play trombone, that was just, it was so cool. And now it really is, I would say, one of my top 3 instruments that I really adore and respect so much. It's such a great, super fun, and yeah, very intellectual instrument, I think, but
Yeah.
with goofy tendencies.
It's a strange instrument in a lot of ways. The Marsalis family, which most folks know of, a famous jazz family. Probably the most famous is Wynton Marsalis, who plays the trumpet and is the leader of the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra. Then his father is a famous piano player, Ellis Marsalis, and his brother, Branford Marsalis, plays tenor saxophone. And Jason Marsalis is a drummer. And then there's Del Feo, who plays the trombone. And a lot of folks don't know of Delfeo Marsalis, but I saw in this interview with Branford Marsalis when those kids were picking what instruments to play, they were telling him, don't play the trombone. It's such a horrible instrument. It's a horrible instrument. And Delfeo was like, nope, that's what I'm going to do. And Branford at the end of the interview, it's still a horrible instrument. He plays it well, but
Oh,
it's still horrible.
oh my God, no.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
But hey, let's be honest here. Of all the instruments in a wind band, which one tunes the most perfectly, right? It's got the opportunity to be best in tune. So
Yeah.
I found out that a lot of trombone players end up becoming writers because they've developed their ear from fine tuning, so.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Another quick question for you. What is, I'm sure you will have to filter this a little bit. What is the weirdest gig or job that you've ever had or played?
Yeah. You sent me these questions yesterday, so I had time to think about it. And I wrote down 3 different things because it's kind of a tie.
And remember, it's a family show.
It's a family show. Yeah. And they're all, they're all family answers. So, there was one that I can point to specifically that was in Windsor, Ontario. And it's kind of one of those gigs where you show up to the venue, and as soon as you start loading in your equipment, you realize you're on the wrong bill. You probably shouldn't be playing this show. But the bands I've played in have always had the attitude, we can play any crowd. We can play anyone. We'll win everybody over. It'll be great. It doesn't matter. Put us in an old folks home. We'll make it work, right? and so the band that opened for us was a local band from Windsor, and they were very much a heavy metal band. And it's like, okay, we're a ska band, so we're going to get on stage with our horns and our suits and everything else, and here we go. But it's going to be great. We're going to win this crowd over, right? And the gig went south pretty quick. And there was one point where we were on stage, and
Was this with the Wedgwoods?
this was with I was doing a tour with the Afterbeat, the Barrymores, and I was playing a solo set in between the 2 bands.
Okay.
And then the Barrymores were headlining this tour, and I would pick up a trumpet and go on stage and play with them because their trumpet player wasn't able to make the tour. So I got to play my own set and then play trumpet with the Barrymores. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It was during the Barrymore set, so it was late into the evening. And in between licks that I was playing on the trumpet, I suddenly realized I'm being something is being thrown at me. I can feel things hitting my body, right?
Oh my God.
So I stop right away and I look down because I'm suddenly in fight or flight mode, right? Like, what do I do, right? And for me, let's face it, it's flight. Like, I'm getting out of here if I'm going to get hurt, right? And I look down and I'm covered in brown. Like, whatever they're throwing at me is brown. And so my head goes to the darkest place first, like they're throwing something unspeakable at me, right? And then I look, and there's an ice cream cone on the stage. And these people at the bar were throwing chocolate ice cream cones at us. It's the strangest thing ever. This is like, of all the things you could choose to throw at a person, because you didn't like the band, to throw chocolate ice cream at them. So yeah, that gig turned out very poorly. And at the end of the night, they took all the money that they had made and locked it in a safe and said, sorry, like we can't it's a time lock safe. We can't get in there till tomorrow morning. We had a gig in Toronto the next day, so we just had to leave without getting paid and covered in chocolate ice cream. It was bad news. Yeah.
And yet you kept going.
You got to keep going. The gig has to get played. You always make the gig, always.
So now, sort of springboarding on that, what kind of advice do you have for kids or adults that are wanting to make music as their career, besides wearing clothes that are easily washed?
Well, this advice is going to sound a little bit strange, but it's really what I believe. If you can picture you're doing something else, then you got to consider doing something else. But if music is in your heart, if that is like the one path that you see before you, then you got to take it. So what it comes down to is you have to feel it in your heart. I've had students before who have said, I like band, I like music, it's fun, maybe I'll do it in university. It's like, you really need to think about it, because if you're going to become good at your craft or good at anything in life, you're going to go through hardships, be that a job or a relationship or a career or becoming a musician, like you have to be able to handle those bumps, and you're going to have to devise a plan for yourself as to how to get through those difficult times. So becoming a musician can be very, very frustrating. There's a jazz musician at the University of Toronto, Gordon Foote. He says, if you're not getting frustrated in your practice, you're not practicing, you're doing something wrong. You have to be able to embrace that frustration. I think a lot of times when you're involved in a concert band class or jazz band class, it's fun. Like, it's good times, right? To be with people you care about and make music. And it's supposed to be that way. But if you want to do it as a career, you have to take the crunchy with the smooth, and you got to be prepared for that. That's a little hard advice, isn't it?
But it's good. You know, I think it's, like you said, it's good for not just becoming a musician, but anything in life, right? That it's not all sunshine and roses. And if you really love it, it's worth the work.
I believe so. Yeah. Because we don't grow unless we go through those things in whatever aspect that is. So, but music is therapy in a lot of ways too. So you can use that thing that you love so much to help you to grow, to help you get through the difficulties. So, I mean, I think I would rather do that than, you know, let accounting help get me through the hard times of my accounting career, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you mean. Obviously 100%, because it's been my path as well, and in a few different forms, but I've made my best friends through music because we're all on this crazy path together, and it looks different for all of us. And, but it also, it keeps us together.
100%. I will tell you, I don't regret a thing. I look back with gratitude every single day. I take a moment to practice gratitude and say, what a wonderful life I've had thus far. You know, like, what an incredible path to be able to come this way. And it hasn't been easy, but you know what? The moments that are really, really sweet, it makes it all worth it.
Absolutely. I'm getting all choked up just thinking about it. Cause I mean, I think we've known each other since when did you come to U of M?
93.
93. So I've known you since 93. So I feel very, very lucky to call you my friend. And thank you for taking time out of your weird and busy day to chat with me and to share your wisdom with anybody and everybody who watches this lovely little clip.
Yeah, well, thank you again so much. I feel the same way about you. I can't believe we've known each other for 27 years.
Oh my God.
Hard to think about, right? And yeah, my wife and I, we think about your daughter, and remember we used to bring her over on Saturday mornings. We used to babysit her, you know, like,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
like
Oh,
it's been a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's been a wonderful ride so far, and I can't wait to see what happens with our lives for the next chapter.
Yeah, well, music's going to be a big part of getting us through this. So
Absolutely.
it's been really important. Okay, get
Crowe.
those subscribers. We need to get that head shaved. Let's go, people. Subscribe.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, likewise. Take care. All the best to you.
Bye, Greg.
Bye.